The Psychology of Money. Welcome, fellow financial thinkers, to a profound exploration of The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. If you ever found yourself wondering why smart people make irrational financial decisions, or why traditional financial advice often falls short, this journey is for you. For the next 90 minutes, we will dive deep into Housel's groundbreaking insights, uncovering the subtle yet powerful ways our emotions, biases, and unique life experiences shape our relationship with money. This isn't a book about formulas or investment strategies. It's a book about human behavior, risk, luck, and the stories we tell ourselves about wealth. Prepare to challenge your assumptions, understand the invisible forces influencing your financial choices, and ultimately, build a more robust and realistic framework for managing your money. Let's begin our exploration of the psychology of money. Part 1. No one's crazy in luck and risk. Morgan Housel begins with a humbling truth. No one's crazy. This isn't to say people don't make poor financial decisions. Rather, it suggests that everyone acts based on their unique experiences and the information available to them. What seems irrational to one person might be perfectly logical to another, given their background. Your personal experience with money makes up perhaps 0.0000001% of what's happened in the world, but 80% of how you think the world works. Someone who grew up in poverty will view savings and risk differently from someone who always had financial security. A person who invested during the dot-com bubble will have a different perspective on tech stocks than someone who started investing after the 2008 crash. We are all products of our unique economic histories, and understanding this helps us approach financial discussions with empathy and less judgment. This realization is crucial for both personal financial planning and for understanding market dynamics. This leads directly into Housel's discussion of luck and risk. These are two sides of the same coin, and their influence on financial outcomes is often underestimated. We love stories of self-made billionaires, but rarely acknowledge the role of good fortune that paved their way. Similarly, financial failures are often attributed solely to bad decisions, overlooking the element of bad luck. Housel argues that nothing is as good or as bad as it seems. When evaluating success or failure, it's essential to consider the role of external factors beyond an individual's control. Acknowledge that luck plays a part in your successes, and that risk, even well-managed risk, can sometimes lead to failure. This is an excuse for inaction, but a call for humility and realism. It highlights the importance of creating a margin of safety, understanding that the world is unpredictable, and that your plans must account for unforeseen circumstances. Don't mistake a lucky break for genius, or a stroke of bad luck for incompetence. Key takeaway for this section: recognize that everyone's financial worldview is shaped by their unique experiences. And always factor in the invisible hand of luck and risk when assessing financial outcomes, both your own and others. This perspective fosters humility and helps us build more resilient financial strategies. Part 2. Never enough and confounding compounding. The pursuit of more money is a never-ending journey for many. Housel addresses this with his chapter, Never Enough. The insidious trap is that for many, enough money is just a little bit more than they currently have. The goalposts keep moving, and the desire for more can lead to excessive risk-taking, moral compromises, and ultimately unhappiness. He emphasizes the critical importance of knowing when to stop. When you have enough, resisting the urge to take unnecessary risks to gain even more can be the most valuable financial skill. Wealth is not just about accumulating assets. It's about the ability to control your time and your life. The highest form of wealth, Housel suggests, is the freedom to do what you want, when you want, with whom you want. This often means recognizing that constantly chasing higher returns or greater status can be counterproductive to true contentment. Define what enough means for you and respect that boundary. Moving from a psychological trap of never enough, we come to the marvel of confounding compounding. This is perhaps the most universally accepted financial principle, yet its true power is often underestimated because it operates slowly and quietly. Housel uses the example of Warren Buffett, whose massive wealth is not primarily due to being a brilliant investor from a young age, but from being a brilliant investor for an incredibly long time. His skill is evident, but his longevity is the true superpower of compounding. The biggest gains from compounding don't come from earning an average of 10% for 10 years, but from earning an average of 10% for 50 years. Time is the most critical ingredient. Housel argues that wealth is not just about what you earn, but what you keep. And what you keep, when given enough time, can grow exponentially. Understanding compounding isn't just about math. It's about patience, humility, and the willingness to let good things take time. It means resisting the urge for quick wins and trusting in the long-term, often invisible, growth. Practical application. Define your enough. What is the point where more money would not significantly improve your happiness or freedom, but only increase your risk? And critically, start investing early and consistently, even small amounts, to leverage the confounding power of compounding. Patience is your most valuable asset here. Part 3. Getting wealthy versus staying wealthy entails you win. There's a fundamental difference between getting wealthy versus staying wealthy. Housel points out that these require very different mindsets and strategies. Getting wealthy often requires taking risks, being optimistic, and being open to new opportunities. Staying wealthy, however, requires the opposite: a degree of paranoia, an aversion to risk, and a focus on survival. Many people are good at the first part, but fail at the second. They take too much risk, succumb to greed, or don't build a sufficient margin of safety. The ability to stay wealthy often involves understanding that there's a difference between being rich and being wealthy. Rich is having a high income. Wealthy is having assets that provide for future choices and security. Wealth is what you don't see. The house is not bought, the car is not driven. It's optionality and time. The key to staying wealthy is survival. Housel stresses the importance of having a margin of safety in your financial planning. This means not overextending yourself, keeping enough cash for emergencies, and being prepared for the inevitable downturns and unexpected events. It's about being financially unbreakable, not just financially successful. If you are financially fragile, even one unlucky break can wipe you out, making all prior successes irrelevant. Following this, Housel introduces the concept of tails you win. This idea suggests that when it comes to investing in many areas of life, most things don't work, and a few things work incredibly well. A small number of big winners account for the vast majority of returns. This means that a lot of your decisions will be wrong, and that's perfectly normal. Think about venture capital. A few startups yield massive returns, while many fail. Or think about blockbuster movies. One huge hit can cover the losses of many flops. The lesson here is that you could be wrong half the time and still be incredibly successful, as long as your winners are big enough to offset your losers. This understanding helps to manage expectations, encourages diversification, and reduces emotional impact of individual failures. It means you shouldn't be afraid to try many things, knowing that only a few will truly pay off. Practical application. Prioritize survival in your financial plan. Build a margin of safety. And when investing, understand that some failures are inevitable. Focus on giving yourself enough chances for a tail event, the few big successes, to occur. This perspective reduces anxiety about individual investment performance and promotes a long-term, diversified approach. Part 4. Freedom, Man in the Car Paradox, and Your Worldview. One of Housel's most compelling arguments revolves around freedom. The highest dividend money pays is the ability to control your time. True wealth is not about accumulating status symbols. It's about the autonomy it grants you, the ability to wake up and do what you want, when you want, with whom you want, is the ultimate luxury. This perspective shifts the focus from consumerism to self-determination. Many people chase higher incomes and buy bigger houses and fancier cars, only to find themselves working harder and longer to maintain that lifestyle, thus sacrificing their freedom. Housel challenges us to question whether our spending truly aligns with our values, and whether it's enhancing or detracting from our personal autonomy. Money should be a tool for freedom, not a golden handcuff. This connects to the man in the car paradox. When you see someone driving an expensive car, you rarely think, "Wow, that person is cool." Instead, you think, "Wow, if I had that car, I would be cool." The irony is that people often buy luxury items to gain respect and admiration from others, but those others are usually too busy thinking about themselves or what they would do with that item. to genuinely admire the buyer. The paradox reveals a fundamental truth about human psychology. What people truly want is respect and admiration, and they often use money to try and buy it, but it rarely works the way they intend. This insight is a powerful reminder to spend money on things that genuinely bring you joy and improve your life, rather than trying to impress others. True respect comes from character, not possessions. Finally, Housel reminds us that your personal worldview is uniquely biased. We each filter financial information through the lens of our own experiences, values, and fears. This means there's no single right way to manage money. What works for one person might be disastrous for another. Understanding this encourages humility and discourages dogma. It teaches us to be skeptical of universal financial advice and to critically evaluate how any advice fits into our own lives. There's a fine line between learning from others and blindly following a path that isn't suited for you. Embrace your unique journey and learn to think for yourself. Practical application. Prioritize buy your freedom with your money rather than just buying things. Be mindful of the man in the car paradox and question your motivations for spending. And always remember that your financial worldview is unique, so tailor advice to fit your circumstances. Part 5. Room for error in reality is harder than you. Housel emphasizes the crucial concept of room for error, often known as the margin of safety. This isn't just about being conservative. It's about being realistic. Planning assumes that the future will unfold somewhat predictably, but reality is far messier. Economic recessions, personal emergencies, market crashes, these are not rare events. They're inevitable. A financial plan without a margin of safety is fragile. It means having enough cash reserves, diversified investments, and a flexible budget to absorb shocks. It's about building robustness, not just optimizing for maximum returns in a perfect world. The goal is to survive the bad times so you can be around for the good times. This is especially true for investing. A small amount of cash on the sidelines during a downturn can be your greatest asset, allowing you to seize opportunities when others are panicking. This leads into another core idea. Reality is harder than you think. Forecasts are rarely accurate. Plans often go awry. People underestimate the emotional toll of market volatility, unexpected expenses, and the sheer unpredictability of life. What seems easy in a spreadsheet often becomes incredibly difficult under real-world pressure. Housel argues that recognizing this difficulty is a strength, not a weakness. It encourages caution, patience, and adaptability. It means not being tied to a single outcome, but rather having multiple scenarios in mind. It teaches us to accept that things will go wrong and to build financial buffers and emotional resilience to navigate those challenges. The best financial plans are those that assume things won't go according to plan. Practical application. Build a robust margin of safety into all your financial decisions. Always assume things will be harder, take longer, and cost more than you expect. This realistic approach will save you from much stress and financial pain in the long run. Part 6. The seduction of pessimism and wealth is what you don't see. Housel explores the seduction of pessimism. Bad news often captures our attention more than good news. Warnings of impending doom sound more intelligent and urgent than optimistic forecasts. This is because optimism sounds like salesmanship, while pessimism sounds like wisdom. Doom and gloom sell more newspapers and get more clicks. However, over the long term, the world tends to get better. Innovation continues, people solve problems, and markets generally trend upwards. Housel isn't advocating for naive optimism, but for a balanced perspective. Be aware of the human bias towards negativity, and don't let it paralyze your financial decisions. Long-term progress, though slow and often invisible day-to-day, is a powerful force that should be accounted for. Finally, Housel brings us to a profound definition. Wealth is what you don't see. Rich is having a high current income. Wealth is having assets that provide for future choices and security. The irony is that the more someone spends on visible status symbols, cars, watches, houses, the less true wealth they actually possess. Wealth is the money not spent. It's the optionality, the flexibility, the ability to control your time, the freedom to retire early or take a sabbatical. It's the invisible fortress you build that protects you from life's curveballs. This chapter is a powerful call to resist consumerism and embrace frugality not out of deprivation, but out of a deep understanding of what true financial freedom actually means. Don't confuse expensive possessions with actual wealth. Practical application. Be skeptical of extreme pessimism and cultivate a realistic long-term optimism. Understand that true wealth is invisible and focus on accumulating assets that grant you freedom, not just visible status symbols. Part 7. Conclusion and your financial behavior toolkit. We've navigated the intricate landscape of the psychology of money, understanding that financial success is less about what you know and more about how you behave. Morgan Housel has provided us with a powerful lens through which to view our own financial decisions and the decisions of others. We've learned that everyone is rational based on their unique experiences. Luck and risk are powerful, invisible forces. Enough is a critical, self-defined boundary. Compounding is a quiet miracle that requires patience. Survival and a margin of safety are paramount. A few big wins often drive our returns. Tails, you win. Money's greatest value is the freedom it buys. Trying to impress others with possessions is a trap. Pessimism can be seductive, but often wrong in the long run. True wealth is invisible. It's the assets and choices you retain. Your financial journey is deeply personal. There's no single right answer, only what's right for you. But by understanding these psychological forces, you can make more rational, resilient, and ultimately more fulfilling financial decisions. Your challenge today: reflect on one area of your financial life where your emotions or biases might be influencing your decisions. How can you apply one of Housel's insights to make a more deliberate choice? If this deep dive into the psychology of money has resonated with you, please like this video, share it with someone who could benefit, and subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking book summaries. What was your biggest takeaway from this profound book? Let us know in the comments below.